Hey guys, welcome to this session by Great Learning. My name is Anirudh Rao, and in this session, we are going to check out a lot of interesting things about this fantastic domain called as blockchain. Now, guys, before we go ahead and begin with this session, can you all head to the comment section? Can you all head to the chat box and quickly put in a yes or a no to tell me, if I am audible to you all, if my screen is visible to you all, right? So just quickly head to the chat box. Just give me a quick confirmation so that we can go on to begin this fantastic and interesting session, right? Perfect. And guys, while you go on to do that, I want to tell you all that I am monitoring all of your questions, all of your comments and everything here on my mobile phone. So any questions that you might have regarding blockchain, regarding this technology, no matter how basic your question is, guys, make sure you're putting them down. Let's have an interactive session as always, and it's going to be really fun. Blockchain is a fantastic domain. It's an amazing technology that you will all appreciate at the end of this session, in case if you haven't used blockchain as well. But then I can promise you that you have heard of one or two applications of blockchain which have taken the world by a storm right now, right guys? Okay, perfect. So I do have a couple of people joining in. Welcome guys, welcome to the session. No matter where you guys are tuning in from. Kashyap Pandu, welcome. So Shubham, Prince, Kaustubh, Indian firefighters, all of you guys have given me a confirmation. So guys, without further ado, we can go on to get ahead with the session now that you guys are giving me confirmations, right? But then guys, before we go ahead with the agenda of the session, I do want to take a minute of your time to guide you about this wonderful venture we have here at Great Learning called as Great Learning Academy. Now guys, Great Learning Academy is definitely a place that you guys have to check out in case if you haven't, right? Guys, can you all head to the comment section and let me know if you have had a chance to take a look at Great Learning Academy, and of course be a part of this fantastic venture here, because through Great Learning Academy, we have somewhere around 700,000 learners joining in from 140 different countries, where we are providing 1,000+ hours of free learning content. And as you can see, for in case if you guys are 2020 and 2021 graduates, we have the Career Plus program where you can prepare and of course crack your dream job, right? So if you guys are freshers, and definitely this is a platform that would help you with your career transformations. And of course we do have multiple top ranking programs done in collaboration with some of the world's top universities out there. So just like how you would want to have an amazing career, very powerful career ahead, definitely there are thousands of others who have chosen Great Learning for that as well. And guys, if you can keep if we go on to keep scrolling down a little, you can find out that there is various career paths that you can take. Now yes, we are discussing about blockchain, but again, when you think about all the trending domains out there, you have data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, marketing, IT and software and all of that, right? So just as an example, let me quickly go to marketing and finance, for example, and here you can see a lot of things, right? In fact, even IT and software. So to become a software developer, again, you can find out so many details about now I've just picked up one career path here. You can just find out the average salary, how many jobs, how many learners, who are the companies who are looking to hire, what are our job ready programs, advantages for you. You get a 48% salary hike, that's the average salary hike, 8,000+ career transitions, and of course, but then to get to all of that point, ladies and gentlemen, you definitely have to start somewhere, and we do provide a lot of free courses that you guys can sign up for. For example, let me go on to search for blockchain itself here, right? We do have one particular course here on blockchain called Blockchain Basics. This is a fantastic course. We have somewhere around 9,000 learners who are enrolled into this. Again, all of the courses that you see on Great Learning Academy are absolutely free of cost to enroll into, to learn, and at the end of the day, you will get a free certificate of completion as well, guys. So you can check out all the skills that are covered, the course syllabus, and of course the course certificate as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I am sure if you have tuned into this particular session, you will know the importance of learning something new, a trending domain, and of course having a certificate of completion that you can show on your LinkedIn profile, or you can add to your resume, right? That is something which will really impress all the hiring managers out there, right? Perfect, guys. So on this note, I definitely believe that Great Learning Academy is a place that you guys definitely have to check out, regardless of where you are in your career right right now. You're still in college, you've just graduated, you're about to graduate, you want to switch your career. So regardless of where you are, there is something here at Great Learning Academy that I promise you that will add a good amount of knowledge to your existing knowledge base. And of course, with the certificate of completions that you get here, it will also add immense amounts of value to your resume and of course your overall profile as well, right? So guys, make sure you check out Great Learning Academy. It's really a fantastic place. You get to learn a lot of new things with of course almost 700,000 plus learners, right? Perfect, guys. So with that, let's get back to this particular session that we have today. It's going to be a really interesting session, guys, but as always, let's keep this highly interactive. Let's make sure that we are putting down all the questions that you might have, and I'll pick up every single one of the questions that you guys put out. I'll make sure to answer them to the best of my abilities, and of course we can go on to have a discussion about blockchain as well, right, guys? And ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you guys are tuning in from, I want to tell you an important thing. I hope all of you all are staying safe from the ongoing pandemic, wearing your masks and all of that, right? Perfect, guys. Let's go on to check out the agenda for today's session going ahead, right? Perfect. Now, here are the session takeaways as you can see on your screen. We will begin this particular session by understanding what blockchain is. Now, I promise you that you might have heard of one or two applications as I mentioned about blockchain, but you might not know how the technology itself works, right? Now, the application which you might have heard here, I am talking about is Bitcoin, right? Now, guys, head to the comment section and just put down a quick yes if you know what Bitcoin is, right? Even if you do not know what it is technically, have you heard of the term Bitcoin, right? So it's an important thing. It works based on blockchain. We're going to check that out as well. And first of all, we're going to begin by understanding what blockchain is, and after you understand what it is, then you will sort of build this curiosity saying, okay, so is this the reason of why it is popular? So to clear things up there, I am actually going to give you all the reasons of why blockchain is so popular in today's world. And once you understand its popularity, you definitely will want to know about how things work. And it's almost like bridging the gap of understanding why it's popular and knowing how it works as well, right? So we're going to bridge that important gap. And of course, at the end of the session, we are going to check out how the entire process of blockchain works as well. It's a very simple technology, but at the end of the day, it is so fascinating and it is so important in today's world that I'm sure that all of you here will go on to appreciate it as much as I do, right, guys? So we already have our first question out here. The Bonnie Joseph asks, what makes a crypto coin so valuable and undervalued? Well, Bonnie Joseph, that's a really good question. We're going to discuss this later in the session, as in when we go on to pick up the section of Bitcoin. And Kang Das asks, which programming language to learn for blockchain technology? Well, that's the best part about blockchain, Kang Das. You really do not require a programming language to get started with this domain itself. That's there's a huge advantage for people who might not want to use a programming language and still have a career in the world of IT, right? Perfect. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go on to understand what blockchain is, I have a very important thing that I definitely want to discuss with you guys. Is we have to burst some myths out there, right? There are so many myths around the world of blockchain that things usually once things become a myth, it usually spreads really quick, and people usually tend to learn the wrong thing, the incorrect thing, right? So let's set things straight here. First of all, this is a common thing that you might have heard, right? So Bitcoin is the biggest thing in today's world, which I might agree to. But then there is a sentence which says Bitcoin is the bigger thing when you compare it to blockchain. The answer to this is no. This is a myth and this is false. Bitcoin is basically an application of the blockchain domain itself. Bitcoin is not blockchain. Bitcoin, when you think about it, if blockchain is a plant, Bitcoin is like the flower or the fruit of the plant, right? So it is totally dependent on it and it comes under blockchain. But yes, if you're thinking about in terms of cryptocurrency, in terms of valuation and all of that, Bitcoin is valued a lot, but that entirely happens only because of the process of blockchain, right? So this is something important that you guys definitely have to understand. Perfect. The second thing, Blockchain is exactly the same as cryptocurrencies, right? Whatever coins there are out there, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, and I think there are a lot of other cryptocurrencies out there as well, right? So there is a common assumption that blockchains and these cryptocurrencies are exactly the same thing. Well, they are not. Let me tell you that one works based on the other. But if you take a look at it, now it's very simple to say face recognition is data science. Well, it's not. Face recognition is an application of data science, right? Similarly, here as well, cryptocurrencies are an application of blockchain. So we already busted two myths right now. Let's take a look at the third one. The third one says data and blockchain ledgers are invulnerable. Now, this is an interesting thing because you might not know what a ledger is, you might not understand what how a blockchain ledger works. So we are going to take a look back into this particular third point here, and we're going to revisit it after we understand what ledgers are, how they work and all of that, right? Perfect, guys. So I hope at least we're clear here with the first two myths. The third one, yes, when you think about the blockchain as a technology, I think the first thing that will ever come up in someone's mind is people telling you, hey, this is the most secure form of moving data around and keeping data authentic. That is correct. It is definitely the world's most authentic form of how you can share data securely. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that it cannot ever succumb to any unauthorized activities. Right? We're going to check out more on that later. Perfect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is blockchain? I am sure you guys are as curious, as possible, because again, with blockchain, there is always the common talk of Bitcoin, and the domain itself has been hyped up a lot by seeing how well it can be applied through the world of cryptocurrencies, right? Perfect. So guys, do any one of you here know what blockchain is? Do you know a simple definition or a simple example? If you do, head to the comment section right now and let me know. Okay. Now, while you guys go on to do that, let me give you the answer. In blockchain, basically the answer is itself in the name itself, right? So blockchain talks about a couple of blocks interlinked together with a chain, right? Look at the image on your right. You can see that there are a couple of blocks here, and these are connected in a chain-like structure. Hence the name blockchain itself, right? But then when you take a look at chain, and when you again split the term block out there, okay, so we understand that there's a couple of blocks, and as soon as they're linked together, it's called as a blockchain. But what do we put into these blocks that we have to later use, or what problem is it that we're trying to solve here, right? The thing that you have to know here is every entity, every block here, we actually call it as a ledger. Now, a ledger in its most practical terms, in its actual physical usage, is a piece of paper which basically consists of, a ledger will tell you everything there is to know about maybe a process, everything that there is to know about maybe how a standard operating procedure, or an SOP as it's called, is done, right? So ledgers are usually used everywhere. There's a good chance you might have used one in school, used in college, and all of that. Now, an important thing that you have to understand is how the data fits into these blocks, how the blocks communicate with each other, and what makes it secure. These three important questions we will have to answer to understand the world of blockchain itself, right? Now, to go on to do that, I think it becomes really, really important for all of us to understand that blockchain is extremely popular, right? But what is the reason for blockchain to be this huge? It's an industry that is worth billions of dollars, and it is an industry where every company that you see around you, even the government organizations, even the people who run the country, are very much interested into the world of blockchain because of its security. It's think about putting certain amount of data into the block and you sealing it. Only the people who have access to it, like for example you, and maybe you want to give the box to a friend or so, only you two in the entire world can open this box, and no matter what, no one else can, right? Now think about not just storing something in the block, but think about actually storing really, really valuable data. Now if you have really valuable data and if you're sending it out across the internet, in a generic situation, not just blockchain, in a generic situation, it so happens that there is a very good chance someone might misuse your data, right? Now there are a variety, there's various types of hackers. There's people who can misuse your data even before you know that there is something wrong that has happened, right? In this world where things are of course, privacy should be the first concern. The second thing is, if the data is supposed to be yours, it means it is yours, right? When someone who isn't authorized to see it sees it, it means the person, it means that your data got leaked. It means that your data is no longer secure. Now, one very, very important thing that you have to understand about the world of blockchain is it completely removes all of these negative aspects that we just spoke about. If you have a block, and if you've put in some data into the block, only after your permission, the owner's permission, can the data move from your place to someone else's place. We're not talking about physical boxes, but we're talking about transactions that happen on the internet, right? So only you are authorized to manage and work with your block. So what does this do? This does a really, really important thing. What it does is it makes your data extremely secure, and it ensures that there is no one else who can access this particular data, tamper with it, and mess with it or change something around. No, in the case of blockchain, none of these will happen, because only you as the owner will have access to the data that gets stored in each of these blocks, right? You might ask a question saying, okay, so quickly, can you tell me how this works? Well, think about signing an agreement or something like that, right? If my name is Anirudh, I will of course have my own signature, and I will put my signature there. Now, if instead of my signature, if there is someone else who signs, do you think that piece of document is valid? I don't think so, right? Think about a check that you have to go and give to the bank. If your sign is like varied a tiny bit, it doesn't, then they don't accept your check. They say no, your signature doesn't match with our database, so we will not accept this. Similarly, in the world of blockchain as well, you as the owner of a block will have to sign the block, not physically, of course, but there's something called hashing. We're going to talk about it in a while. But this process is what is responsible for attaching a tag to that block saying, hey, this person is the owner and no one else can access it apart from this person, right? Now, the world of blockchain is very similar to how the internet itself works. Think about a couple of computers in a server architecture where everyone is connected to each other, right? It's basically called as a peer-to-peer network. Now here, what happens in a peer-to-peer network is your data is basically public. Your blocks are public. What I mean by that is everyone knows what's happening with each and everyone's block, right? It's a very simple thing. Think about 5 people sitting around playing cards or something, so you guys will know who has what card, and at least you can take a good guess, something like that, right? So similarly, in the world of blockchain, if there is a couple of computers, if there are a couple of people here, all of these transactions that happen, each and every one, even though they may or may not be directly involved into the transaction, but they will also realize that there is a transaction that's happened. That is the advantage of blockchain, where we're using public ledgers, right? So all of these ledgers and blocks that we've been talking about, all of these will have some sort of transactional data in them, and these data can actually be viewed by the public to the fullest extent, right? So you cannot hide things from the public here in the world of a public ledger. What happens then? You're asking a question saying, hey, okay, so we're not hiding anything from the public, but then what is making it secure? Very good question. Even though the content, the data entry can be viewed by the public, what they cannot do is they cannot access your data, and they cannot change things around, and they cannot corrupt it, right? So think of it like you have a pet and you're putting a little biscuit or a treat in front of your pet. There is no way that you cannot know that either this pet will eat the biscuit or not, but if you keep holding the biscuit and not give it to the pet, it has no way to eat it, right? Similarly here, if the actual biscuit or the treat is considered as the data, everyone can go on to see it, but it doesn't mean everyone can go on to own it, or enter into it, disrupt into it, and all of that, right? Exactly why blockchains are secure. Even though people can see it, people cannot mess with your data, people cannot go on to corrupt your data. This is a very, very important thing that you guys have to know about public ledgers, right? Now, I hope with the concept of ledgers, with the concept of blocks and what makes it secure, and a tiny bit of info into the process is clear for all of you all, right guys? Okay, let me go on to check the questions here. Ashish Gupta says, please share slide 1 and 2 again. Of course, Ashish, you have a link that's been provided by our moderation team here. You can get the course material and the session PDF there. Please click on the link that's given to you, and you can go on to do that, right? Nagasundar has an amazing question. So, we're talking about this architecture. So, who will maintain the entire architecture? Perfect. Now, Nagasundar, the working of this, we can actually go on to discuss in the process of blockchain itself. But since you've brought up the question now, I want to tell you that in a peer-to-peer network, everyone is an owner of their own content, but they're not owners of everyone else's content. So it's literally a network where each and everyone is out for themselves and they are managing everything, right? So if you've ever gone on to use a peer-to-peer network before, you will understand that maybe to download something, right? If you were to download something from a peer-to-peer network, that person on the other end must be uploading it to the internet so that you can download it this side, right? It's called as the process of seeding. If that person is seeding that particular file, you can go on to download it here. Similarly, in the process of blockchain, each and everyone is seeding everyone else's data. So what happens is, well, everyone is online, and when everyone goes on to stay in the network and go on to use the peer-to-peer network, it so happens that everyone is managing everyone else's what's happening in the network. So that is how the entire architecture is pretty much maintained. There is no centralized server which will go on to maintain any of the records out here. No, the entire concept of blockchain is to take that centralized server and to throw it. Literally, it is that even though I put it out in a funny way, right? Perfect. Now, guys, one we have to really talk about before we go on to understand the processes. What makes this domain, such as blockchain, really popular, right? There is a good chance if you guys have been following the news for the year 2020, 2021. I mean, apart from the COVID pandemic and of course everything about the world of technology, you guys will realize an important thing, a fascinating thing, is that blockchain has been consistent to be a part of the top technologies of the world from 2020, 2021, and it's been portrayed to remain a top 10 technology maybe for the next 5 or 10 years for sure. And with every single year, right, for example, right from 2020 to 2021, right now where we are, the amount of interest, the amount of money in billions of dollars that are being spent into companies who want to use blockchain have literally doubled in just 1 year, right? And we're not talking about small amounts here. Maybe if you're talking about $1,000, doubling it may not have a huge impact on the industry. But if you're talking about a domain that is worth billions, and if you want to double that, well, 10 billion doubled is 20 billion, right? So again, it's really huge. But it isn't the money that only makes blockchain popular. What you really have to understand is what's really happening in today's world, right? There is a lot of vulnerabilities that we go on to live around. Even though on the whole, as a customer, as a consumer, a lot of things seem safe, the thing is, it is not always so. For example, think about bank transactions, right? Bank transactions, at the end, for you, for me, for a person who just uses maybe net banking or something, or UPI or something, things look very secure. You're happy that your money is not being misused and all of that. But at the end of the day, if you are a person who really understands the banking system, the banking architecture, how that bank keeps its data secure, you can work your way backwards and you can start changing records in the bank entries, right? So today you might have $10 in your bank account, tomorrow you may have 10,000. There have been cases in the past where this has happened, right? It is such an ambiguous thing. It is not possible in the real life, but at the end of the day, your bank account says you're a millionaire overnight. It is definitely possible. And if your bank account in the back end says this person owns this much money, well, the bank literally will have the cash to go on to give it to you, right? But then when they go on to do an audit later, they realize, okay, so we've been hacked and something has happened. So until that point, there is no way to tell that it's possible that the bank couldn't even catch the people who have done this, right? Perfect. The second thing, the entire goal of why blockchain has become so popular right now is to make sure this is avoided, is to make sure that once a data entry is done, only the owner can go on to edit it. No one else, not even the bank people. There's literally no one else apart from the owner who can go on to change an entry there, who can go on to, of course, everyone can see it, but no one can change it. It is something like that, right? So data is really stored in a structured way. Data is stored in a manner which ensures that no one else can access to it, guys. So this is something which is very important. Let me quickly pick up a question. We can go on to continue, right? Ashish has a very good point, but miners hack the data into blockchain, and even in blockchain, hackers hack data, and it's gambling, and in terms of security as well. Well, Ashish, that's really a good point, right? That's the first reason. That is the myth that we spoke about, right? Let me quickly go back to that slide where we went on to discuss the myth, and your question. I hope this third point answers it, right? Data in blockchain ledgers, even though they are secure, and right now they might be the most secure form of it, it doesn't mean that hackers can never ever hack into it. That's why I've said that it is vulnerable. What the statement means is that data, even though it's stored in blockchain ledgers, are definitely a lot safer from having data stored in servers or something. But does it mean that no one can ever hack into it? Look at what's written. It's false, right? That's why I told you that once you guys understand the process, we can come back to this slide where we can go on to discuss the myth itself, right? Perfect, guys. I hope the first reason of why blockchain is so popular is clear to all of you all, right? It's the vulnerability. It is a requirement in today's world to make sure data remains more secure. That is why everyone is looking towards blockchain. Now, for the people who might have tuned in a little later into the session, I gave you clues telling you that blockchain and Bitcoin are not the same thing. So you might have a question. For the people who tuned in a little late, they might have a question saying, okay, is blockchain and Bitcoin the same? Because I'm sure that someone will have this question. As discussed initially, for all the people who have joined in new, for all of you all, the answer is no. Bitcoin is not the same as blockchain. Blockchain is the entire technology that powers the world of cryptocurrency, as you can go on to think about it, right? And of course, since we're talking a little bit about blockchain right now and Bitcoin right now, it has to be said that blockchain is the reason why Bitcoin is considered to be the world's most popular cryptocurrency today, right? And when you actually go on to think about it, the concept of blockchain is not something that was invented in 2010 or 2011. No, the concept of blockchain started becoming really popular from way back in the year 1991 itself. From 1991 till 2005, 6, 7, the early periods of the 21st century. That is when people realize, hey, what if we have currencies that are that cannot be governed by the people? It cannot be governed by a central body. It's basically telling you that, hey, let us decentralize the entire world of currencies, and let us make sure no one in the entire world has a say in how this money is valued at, right? That's the reason why cryptocurrencies are so popular today. No one controls the pricing at the end of the day. There is no government, there is no governing body, there is no treasurer, there is no one that sits and says, today blockchain costs this much, tomorrow blockchain costs that much. No, it is literally everyone that are involved in this huge public ledgers that these guys are responsible for that, right? So that is again a fantastic thing to know. And since the world of Bitcoin itself has exploded, now I myself definitely was invested into Bitcoin when things were taking up really quickly, and of course since those days as well, right? From then, whenever you spoke to a common man saying, hey, have you heard of Bitcoin, when everyone went on to do research, they realized it's powered by blockchain. But since if you guys did not know how it works, well, it's this, right? Perfect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about one more point which makes really we'll talk about a couple of points, but here's an important point is data security, right? This has been cleared up by me for I think 3 or 4 slides right now. Just by having your data in a server architecture, even when you think about it over the internet, you might say, hey, I'm using this encryption, 256 ESL, SSL encrypted. So you can do a lot of encryptions to make your data safe. But at the end of the day, if you do not know where the data is moving to, or in a system where everything is public, just that you can see it and you cannot access it, you cannot actually go on to corrupt it, right? It's almost like, probably standing here and looking at the moon. You can look at it, but there is nothing you can do about it that might change what the moon behaves like. Similarly, if the same moon analogy has been considered to be your data, the same thing applies, right? So, perfect. This point we already discussed as well. Let's quickly revisit it again. Decentralization is important in the world of blockchain because when you take a look at a regular server architecture to store data and move data, it is usually one big server or a couple of servers where your data is stored and everyone else is connected to these servers. So it's the central block. It's a foundation to which everyone else connects to and gets access to their data. Now with decentralization, you really have to understand one thing is this entire server architecture is dissolved. Every one of the person who is involved in a peer-to-peer network is, they can be considered as a tiny server all on their own, and it's like a bunch of servers being connected in the most simple fashion to go on to tell you. Decentralization, this concept of blockchain is the entire reason why Bitcoin in fact even exists today, right? I'm sure you guys figure that out by now, but then you really have to understand that this is exactly what is powering it. Even though all the hype, all the world's attention goes to Bitcoin, I definitely think if you understand blockchain better, you can go on to understand Bitcoin better, right? Perfect. Now, it's not just Bitcoin. Let us actually go on to talk about a lot of different other things of why, Bitcoin, why blockchain is very popular. See, even I messed up Bitcoin and blockchain there. That's how intertwined these two technologies are, right? Guys, now I have to go on to tell you about an important thing about blockchain here is whenever, things are considered in a really big manner, let's say enterprise grade, let's say companies, multinational corporations who have to move data around, it so happens that there are many manual tasks in today's world which you cannot automate if you were using any other architecture apart from blockchain. Blockchain gives you this fantastic advantage where you can go on to have these entries programmed, you can go on to perform certain functions automatically, which at the end of the day will reduce your workforce to actually get the task done. Now, if you were a company, if you can get the job done by having less people to do it and ensuring that it is more secure, it is more efficient, and it is saving you money and it is keeping your data secure, will you do it? Yes or no? I don't think anyone will ever say no to this particular question, and of course apart from the people who might not know what blockchain is, right? Perfect. Now guys, an important thing to discuss. Now you understand why it is so popular, but we definitely have to think about how it works, right? But then before that, let me quickly go on to take a look at your comments and go on to answer them. Ashish says there is no authorized authority to monitor the architecture and its pros and cons. Of course, Ashish, you have a really good point here. We're going to talk about miners a little bit as well. Of course, miners will use computing power to pick up data which is not theirs, but at the end of the day, it's a harder process, and as I told you in the myth, it is not impossible to do it, right? Perfect. Venkatesh Reddy has a question. Any frameworks we need to learn and apply to use blockchain? Not really, Venkatesh Reddy. Now, this is a domain where mostly it's about you understanding how peer-to-peer networks works. It's mostly about you understanding that data is secure because of the concept of mathematics. I'm going to tell you it's really interesting. And it's not just you require a framework or you require a programming language to work with it. Having knowledge of how data moves in a database will get you started, but it definitely is not a compulsion that's needed to get started with this, right? Right, Ashish is making really good points in the comment section, guys. Because at the end of the day, it can be hacked if it's required, and using an SHA-256 algorithm. Good, we're going to discuss about all of that. But then, yes. There's this interesting question we're going to take up by Boni Joseph. He says, what will happen to blockchain if governments ban cryptocurrencies? Now, that's a fantastic question. I'm going to talk about it when we go on to the section where we're going to quickly discuss Bitcoin, right? Perfect. So how does the world of blockchain work? Now, guys, there's three important things that, make the world of blockchain tick. First of all, it's encryption keys. Next, we have the peer-to-peer network, which has a common ledger. And then we have data storage, where you actually put your data in, right? Now, think about a block of data. This block will actually consist of a lot of information. It talks about who the owner of the block is. in a chain, right? So it's blockchain. So it means that one block is connected to the other. So it needs an address or something to go on to connect to the next block. That is where there is something called as the process of hashing that comes into the picture. A hash basically gives the block an identity. So what it does is in a chain, if you look at one entity in a chain, there will be one at the back, one at the front as well, right? Look at your bicycle or bike chain. So there's a link going on. Now, if you just consider one of those links, one link will again have a unit previous to it and a unit after to it as well. So as to link to the next one itself, here we do not have a physical connection, right? It's not two blocks touching each other so that data has to move around. So this hashing, the procedure of hashing is basically us encrypting things to say that, hey, this data belongs to this particular person and this block has to connect only to this particular person in the peer-to-peer network. So that at the end of the day, ensures, so your block has its data, your block has who the owner is, your block also has information about which other blocks it is connected to, the previous blocks and the next block as well, right? So I hope this gave you a quick picture of the actual physicalities of the what happens in this particular domain. Now let's talk about encryption keys. This is a fantastic concept. Even though it's very, very simple, it's extremely powerful. There are two types of keys when we go on to talk about the world of encrypted keys, ladies and gentlemen. There's public key and there's something called as private key. Public key is like a key that is put on a box and that has been given to the public, right? With that you cannot open with just that you cannot open what's inside the box for sure, but it is sent to make sure that at the end of the day, whoever is receiving this particular block knows that it has come from the person who was supposed to send it, right? It is not like someone else is an impersonation and is sending it. If you have to send a courier to your friend, you can do it by being you, first of all, but you can also ask someone else to do it. It doesn't mean that it was only you who sent it, right? But to have an authentication and confirmation that says, yes, it was my friend who sent me this, that is where the public key, it's called public because everyone has access to this particular key, but they cannot do anything. But how do you decrypt the data that is present? That is where the private key comes into the picture. The private key along with the public key will only, when the private key is only given to the person who is receiving this particular block, no one else. So there is no way that anyone else can open this block unless they have the public key, unless they have the private key as well. So this process helps authenticate the transaction and helps to make sure that the right person is sending the data and also that the right person is sending the data to the right person, right? So this kind of a signature, this kind of a procedure of how we go on to use keys to encrypt and decrypt the data is a really simple technology, but once it's put into the world of blockchain, it definitely is really, really popular, right? Perfect. Now we spoke about the keys, we spoke about the authentication part of it. Now let's talk about how these digital signatures move around, right? First of all, in a peer-to-peer network, think about a star architecture, right? Literally everyone is connected to everyone else. For a transaction to happen, now you might have a question, is if everyone is connected to everyone else and if everyone can see the data, what's the point of security? In the domain of blockchain, if people see your data, they cannot do anything to it unless they actually have access to it, and unless they can mess around with your data and start changing things, there is nothing to worry about your data being out there, right? So for this secure transaction to go on to happen, we use something called hashing algorithms. It is basically like solving a mathematical puzzle. Now, if I have to send a block of data to, if I have to connect this block of data to another one and to create a chain, to move the data and to use these encryption keys and to actually access the data that is stored, data will only move from me to the next couple of places or the next, in fact, it will move to everyone at the same time. But if it is moving in the direction of the person who is supposed to receive it, there when this person goes on to decrypt, think about solving a basic mathematical problem. Of course, here it's not basic, it will be a very complex mathematical operation that is worked on by a computer. That is why if you have ever taken a look at the concepts of Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining, people will always tell you it is going to take you a ton of computing power. It's going to cost you a lot in terms of electricity because it is so much of power that is required to solve these mathematical operations. Imagine if the mathematics behind it is putting the world's most powerful CPUs to work at its 100% to just solve more and just make a little bit of money through Bitcoin. Think about how complex the math might be. Now, if you've ever had little kids in your house, if you ever go out to give them a chocolate, you say, hey, why don't you tell me what 3 multiplied with 3 is, right? If they tell you the correct answer, you give them the chocolate. If they say a wrong answer, you're like, no, I won't give you a chocolate, try again, something like that, right? Here as well, of course, your computer will take like a couple of nanoseconds to tell you what 3 multiplied with 3 is, but if it is a transaction, if it is a mathematical operation that is going to take a huge amount of time, even for the world's most powerful computers, you have to understand one important thing here is that the mathematics, when it is increased from a scale of a little kid all the way to the world's most powerful computers, where even the computers will have to slow down, and they will be giving it everything they have to solve it, right? Probably the kid can go 3, 3, 6, 3, 9, done. But the computer cannot do that. It will still be doing that at a fundamental level, but it's like that on steroids. That's it, right? Perfect. Now, when we go on to talk about the world of data storage, ladies and gentlemen, data storage happens because every single node is connected to each other. Each of the blocks contain its own data. Now, I have to ask you all a question. I already told you what data gets stored in each block, right? The owner of the block, the actual data that needs to be shared, previous hash, and the hash of the next link in the chain. These 4 things are stored in every single block. And now an interesting question that comes into the picture. Okay, so if each and every one is connected into the network, and we know how the data moves, we know how encryption, decryption, all of that works, does it at the end of the day mean that everyone's data is unique? Yes, everyone's data is unique, but a copy of everyone's data is present on everyone else's data or everyone else's block as well. This is an important thing, right? So on a network, if there are 10 computers connected, I'll give you a simple, don't think about blockchain, I'll give you a simple example. If there are 10 different networks that are computers that are connected in a particular network, let's just say that all the data that is present in one computer is present in everything else as well. So it's a copy. What computer 1 has, all the remaining 9 also has. What computer 2 has, the remaining 9 also has. Similarly, in the world of blockchain, if one person has a copy of the blockchain, in fact, every single node, it's called as a node, right? We've been talking about these entities in a network. These entities are called as nodes. So every single node will copy one particular transaction of what's happening in the world of blockchain, and this is how everyone gets to keep a track of what's happening, rather than a centralized entity or having a server which will tell everyone what's happening. No, we have no one here to tell what's happening. We have each and every one who themselves know how the data is moving and what's happening in the peer-to-peer network. Perfect. Guys, now with that, we have to really know that, okay, so this is how blockchain works. We know what it is. We understand a little bit of Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, what is the process that governs this entire world of blockchain, right? Let us build a quick story to tell you what the blockchain process is. Now, I have broken this down across multiple slides here to make sure that you guys can understand this easily. Think about maybe 2 friends that you might have, or you and your friend, who want to make a simple transaction, right? So there are 2 people who want to make a simple transaction. This is the premise of our story. Now, what the first individual does is that this individual takes certain data and attaches the data with a public key. So right now, the first individual who wants to send the data to the second individual has the data, and upon that data, this person has given it a little public key. This public key is basically again another operation that's done to make sure that it's like a password that's given, but this password is known to everyone. But can people do something even though they know the password? Absolutely not, because you require 2 passwords. This is a password. A public key is like a password that's given out to the network to say, hey, it is me who has sent this. It is like an authentication of the person who is sending it to make sure the correct person sends it, right? Now it so happens, as as I told you, the courier example itself, right? Someone else can also send it to your address. It doesn't mean that it was meant for you. They might have sent it by mistake. Here, to avoid that kind of a mistake, to avoid impersonation, this happens. So we have the first individual, he has the data, he or she also attaches the public key, and then the data is pushed into the network. Once a data point gets into a ledger, it means that in that particular ledger, be it a private ledger or a public ledger, everyone else, be it 10 computers, 100 computers, a million computers connected, if everyone is on that ledger, if every one of a person is connected through that particular if each of the nodes are connected, it means that even though this one person just wanted to send one information to his friend, it gets copied literally to every single one. So the data actually gets stored to every single node, and that is how we have come until this process of blockchain, right? First of all, two individuals realized they have to exchange some data. One guy took the data, attached a public key, sent it out to everyone. What happens next? Next, what happens is that this particular block, which consists of the data that has to be sent to the second person and to the public key, it does not reveal who actually sent it, because unless the public key is matched by the recipient versus the person who sent, right? So that public key should match what the recipient has, the sender and the recipient. If those both match, then people will get to know, oh, okay, so this is the person who sent it. No wonder the reasons for if you just understand this particular step in the process, you'll realize you will understand why Bitcoin is even so popular, right? No one will ever get to know who is doing what. Simple. Let me repeat that. No one will ever get to know who is doing what. That is the reason why everyone in the world wants blockchain, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of secrecy. It's not just secrecy, it is basically privacy to a next level where people will not know what's happening apart from the parties involved. Everyone else, they will know things are happening, but they will not know what exactly is happening, right? Perfect. So what happens next is the data gets copied to everyone else. It gets matched. If the public key gets matched with the private key that is held by the recipient, it means that the transaction is completed. It means that, hey, your data entity, data element has been moved, it is correct, it is authenticated, it was sent from the right person, it was sent to the right person in the network, right? Even though everyone else has the data, even though everyone else has that entry in the ledgers on their computers, it is of absolute no use to them. They can only see it, they cannot do anything about it, right? And once this kind of a transaction happens, once this kind of a data moves from one point to another in a ledger or a network, this is where cryptocurrencies were even born, right? Ladies and gentlemen, all these nodes receive a small amount of it's a metric, it's a tracking metric. We just gave it a name called as cryptocurrency. So it basically receives a reward for completing this particular transaction and sending the data from here to there and back, right? So this gets added to the chain. So it's a chain that keeps building and building, and the chain never gets cut. So that's the reason you see the value of blockchain being so volatile, being so it just went from being $1 all the way to, I think, what it's worth 40 lakhs today or something like that. One Bitcoin, right? So it's one Bitcoin worth so much of actual currency. So imagine how much of mining needs to be done in public ledgers. Imagine how many people must be connected to solve how many mathematical challenges. It's not like you sitting and writing a formula and solving a math. Your computation, your CPU is intelligent enough. Your more than CPU, it's the GPU, the graphical processing unit, which consists of cores which are very, very sharp and which are meant to go on to handle these transactions, right? So they will go on to do all of these for you, but at the end of the day, what you have to understand is this kind of a tiny reward that keeps coming up. Once it adds up, it becomes a lot. People have retired just because they made a bit of Bitcoin money, right? That's how much of governance the world has towards Bitcoin. So to revisit this entire process, I just took the last 5 slides and just put it in one single slide so that you guys can also follow. Firstly, when two people have to share information, the first guy has the information, he puts it into a public key, and this gets sent to everyone in the entire network. This needs to be authorized by all the different nodes that are present there. So everyone in that network has to say, yes, this is correct, we can push this ahead. Once everyone's go ahead is done and things seem to be fine, this particular block, which consists of the data and the public key, even though you will not, everyone else will not know who sent it, but once it matches onto a private key that is held by the recipient, this transaction is complete and the data is moved. Once this data is moved, it means there's a lot of hashing algorithms, mathematical equations being solved in the background, and once these transactions are complete, it means that your mathematical challenge was solved. So if that mathematical challenge was solved, what is the end goal here? First of all, the end goal is your data is secure. The second end goal is you get a tiny reward for having this data move in a ledger that the half the entire world owns or something like that. So there you get a reward. Even though the reward is very, very tiny, it is still, if you add it up, it accounts to something really huge, right? As I told you, today blockchain is worth lakhs of rupees, and that's what I said, right? You can see people who have retired at the age of 25 just because they have maybe like 35 bitcoins in their wallet, and they are maintaining it there. You can buy things with Bitcoin. You can pay for your groceries. You can pay for a lot of places. You can do a lot of things with Bitcoin, but the only thing is the entire world is not used to it still. Certain governments think that since it is decentralized, the government will lose control about how the money moves around. So that's why certain governments have banned it or are planning to ban it. But at the end of the day, I definitely think it is something which will in fact add value to the government itself, because all of it is extremely secure. And even today around you, there are banks who are looking forward to using the process of blockchain itself, right? So this is our discussion with blockchain, ladies and gentlemen. Now quickly coming to our discussion on Bitcoin. Now we can have a completely in-depth session about Bitcoin itself, but to just give you a quick introduction, this is a very important concept, right? So Bitcoin is not something that's new. Bitcoin came into the world somewhere around in 2008. There was this financial crisis that happened, you might know, in the USA, and after that is when people realized, okay, if my money sitting in a bank depends on someone else's involvement in it, it means my money is not secure. So how can I remove it and make my money 100% secure? That is where that train of thought itself led to the creation of Bitcoin. Having a currency that your banks cannot control, that your governments cannot control, right? In the year 2009, there were somewhere around 10,000 people, 10,000 nodes. You can see that. Now you know what nodes are. So you know that in this particular world of Bitcoin, there were 10,000 people who are involved in this data exchange scheme. Now there are over 100,000, like everyone in the entire world is a big node. Each node has ledgers, and at the end of the day, you can have really big mining centers. Mining centers are basically rows and rows of extremely powerful computing, which will solve this particular mathematics which is required to finish a transaction quicker. And as and when they do things quicker, they keep adding on more Bitcoin to their wallet, and one Bitcoin, you can see that it's worth a ton of money in today's world, right? That is how the entire world of Bitcoin revolves. But what is the central entity that Bitcoin is revolving around? Blockchain, right? That's why I've called it the Bitcoin bonus. Now, an important thing that you really have to understand that I'm surprised that a lot of people here could did not ask the particular question is, okay, so how do you know that the math transaction was even done or not? Or why does it require a ton of computing to go on to solve the math? You really have to understand that this concept of solving the math operation, it is not like, hey, you have a formula, please use this formula, mathematics done. No, it is 99% of the time the concept where trial and error is usually, the process of trial and error is opted. You try something, either it works, it doesn't work, try something else. So this consistent activity, which happens a million times a second probably, is asking all the computing power that your computer can provide. That at the end of the day is the reason why first of all there's huge amount of computing. Second, if you are pushing your computers to the limits, if you do have any gamers in the house, you will realize that overclocking is a concept which will make your processor run way faster than it is. It changes the clock speed. That also means more heat is generated. That also means it will take up more electricity and you have to pay a bigger bill, right? Similarly, think about a mining center now. They have to manage all the heat or their computers will die from the heat. They have to also pay a ton of electricity bill, right? So if you just have one single computer and if you ask saying, can I mine Bitcoin? Right now, it might take a couple of years to solve a single mathematical problem with your particular computer. You will be paying more of electricity bill rather than making some money in terms of Bitcoin. That is the reason why you don't see the entire world's population jumping on Bitcoin. At this moment of how it stands, the process of mining, you will lose money initially more than what you will make up. So it's literally knowing that you're going into a money pit, which may or may not earn you any bonuses or rewards, or even that you might get the initial money back. No, right? So that's an important thing you guys have to know about Bitcoin, right? Perfect. Okay, guys, enough with this. I'm sure you guys are more curious about understanding the world of blockchain. I am very sure that you guys want to know more about it. You guys want to understand a lot about it. I want to talk to you about an important thing is that in today's world where, there's like a trending technology like blockchain, you really have to understand that there is a lot of content in today's world. Go to Google, type a simple search, call it as learn blockchain. If you type learn blockchain, you'll be given millions of results by the time I did that with my finger, right? So how do you know what to learn? How do you know which order to learn in? How do you know what not to learn? How do you know where to spend the right time to learn things? To answer all of these questions, that is the reason why I keep asking you all, all of you guys to subscribe to the Great Learning YouTube channel, or to go on to hit that bell icon. Because when you are subscribed to us, when you are gone on to hit that bell icon, whenever we have these sessions, I am sure a lot of you all got the notifications about that. Hey, Great Learning is starting a session, join, right? This gives you the advantage for you all to come to our comment section, ask all of your questions, talk to us experts, right? So we are experts who've been doing this for a really long time now. We understand it. We understand what the domain is. We understand what the industry is, how the industry is using the domain. So all of this combined into a high quality learning material is exactly what we are aiming to provide here at Great Learning. Now, I'm not saying just use Great Learning to learn and nowhere else. Absolutely not. But our way of giving content out to you guys, be it on free or paid platforms, I believe is definitely different from how everyone else might be doing it as well, right? So we completely focus on giving you guys the highest quality of learning material possible. So join into us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, make sure you guys are checking out Great Learning Academy, because whenever we create any sort of content, we keep all of these things in mind to make sure that we value your time as well as ours, to make sure that at the end of the day, hey, if this person is sitting and learning using our content, we want to make sure it's the best that they can use to learn, right? That is our point here, guys. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the Great Learning YouTube channel, and of course there is multiple places where you can get free content on blockchain. First of all, we have the blockchain course on Great Learning Academy. I want all of you all to go on to sign up to that particular course. It is free. You can complete it really quick. There's a quiz. You can get a certificate of completion absolutely free of cost. You can add it to your resume right now, right? So make sure you guys go on to do it. And after Great Learning Academy, we have two more places where you can get more free content on on blockchain. I definitely think you guys should check out the Great Learning YouTube channel, which again all of you are a part of and all of you all are tuned in through right now. But then, since we might have people who will ask questions saying, hey, is it only videos that we have to watch, or can we also read blogs? Yes, we do have Great Learning blogs, again written by subject matter experts that you guys can definitely go on to read into. And I myself love reading, so I usually find myself, if there is a technology that I do not know, the first thing I try to do is I watch videos on YouTube, of course. The next thing I try to do is I reach out to experts who know that, to ask them what's the simplest way I can find that out. The next thing I do is I read blogs, because reading a very well structured blog can give you so much information. Similarly for a YouTube video as well, right? So I hope with this particular video, you guys took away a lot of information, right? So guys, with this, we have to come to a point where we have to wrap up the session. But before we quickly wrap up the session, I want to take a second of your time to talk about the career transition programs we have here, top ranked professional courses we have here at Great Learning. We have multiple different domains that you guys might be interested in: data science, AI, management, cloud computing, cybersecurity, software development, design thinking, and a couple of other degree programs as well. So make sure you are checking this out. We have all of our courses done in collaboration with the world's leading universities: Stanford Center for Professional Development, Northwestern School, we have IIT Madras in India, PS University, SRM universities again, right? So when you think about triple IT as well, so we have so many universities who are in touch with us, MIT as well. So at the end of the day, you get to have a postgraduate program and a specialization in your favorite domains, which will add a ton of basically it is very simple. You go from being a beginner all the way to becoming a thorough expert in all the domains, right? And of course, for all of you who all know who Virat Kohli is, you will see him a lot on Great Learning, right? Perfect, guys. There's so many courses that you guys can definitely check out. You can check out the career support section that we have here. We have all of our success story from all of our customers. We have 8,000 plus career transitions, and people, these stories are the ones that's definitely going to inspire you to go on to learn better, be better, have more knowledge in the world of information technology, right? So there's a lot of things you can find out here on the Great Learning page. So I suggest all of you all head to greatlearning.in to find out more about the fantastic offerings we have in terms of post-graduation programs, and of course specializations, which will take you from being a beginner all the way to being a thorough expert. And the advantages that come with that is immeasurable, right? There is so many advantages that, again, we can probably talk about it for the next 15-20 minutes if I go on to tell you more about it. But I want all of you all to head to the website. I want all of you all to definitely check this out on your own. There are many sections where you guys can reach out to us. We definitely want to, as you can see, there's a section which says talk to us on this. Just make sure that you guys are giving our experts a call to understand what domain that you might be interested in, what aligns with your career. Our experts sitting on the other end of the call will guide you about not only what program you must pick, but how well you can make use out of it. And there's a lot of things which will add a lot of value to your lives, right, guys? Perfect. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session. So I hope this session on blockchain was very helpful for you all, and I hope that with the amount of interactions we are getting here on the comment section, it is an absolute pleasure to always take a session for all of you all, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people contributed a lot to the comment section. For example, Ashish Gupta, Kashyap Pandu, thank you so much for keeping this session particularly interactive. And at the end of the day, there's a lot more you guys have to learn about the world of blockchain. You can definitely get started with the free courses we have on Great Learning Academy, and we can have more sessions on blockchain if that is what you guys want. But to showcase, but to tell us that you guys are very much interested into the domain, guys, do take a second and hit that like button on this video if this video helped you, and if you're looking more for similar content like this, right? So then we can go on to have more content on blockchain for all of you all, right, guys? On that note, please make sure you guys are staying safe. The COVID pandemic is still on. Wear your masks, maintain social distance, whatever is required, and at the same time, make sure this is the best opportunity to learn from home, work from home, whatever it is. Make sure you're being very efficient. Make sure you guys are keeping your learning at an all-time high, right? So make sure you guys are doing all of that. On that note, thank you all so much. As always, you're a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one, and I'm already excited for it. Right, guys? Cheers. Have a wonderful day ahead.